Welcome back. And locally, the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors SPG Committee will celebrate the achievements of local business and youth on Friday, August 12th, International Youth Day 2016. Commemorated each year on August 12th, International Day serves as a way to promote better awareness of issues affecting youth in the countries and communities. This year's theme, Road to 2030, Eradicating Poverty and Achieving Sustainable Production and Consumption, focuses on the leading role of young people in ensuring poverty eradication and achieving sustainable development through sustainable consumption and production. The CARICOM Youth Ambassadors Committee will celebrate the current and ongoing achievements of youth on the social media pages in the areas of sports, culture, music, academics, and entrepreneurship. The CARICOM Youth Ambassadors held a conference titled Free Up the Herb on July 27, 2016. The panel discussion was the second of its nature held by the committee, the first which was held in 2013. The panelists included Sergeant Brenton Smith of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, Mr. Junior Spirit Cuttle of the Cannabis Revival Committee, psychiatrist Dr. Amory Morris Patterson, lawyer Mr. Joseph Delves, and representing the Christian community, Mr. Glenmore Brown. Lone female on the panelists, CARICOM Youth Ambassador psychiatrist Dr. Amory Morris Patterson, said that marijuana has a negative impact on the functioning of the body, especially for persons who start at a very early age.
What happens to the brain of the adolescent? So in the adolescent brain, the adolescent brain is still a work in progress. So before it was thought that when you're adolescent that your brain was already fully developed. But now it's been shown that the adolescent brain is still under construction. So there's a process that is taking place in the brain, especially in the front of the brain. In the front, they call it here your prefrontal cortex. So in that front of the brain, that is the part of the brain that has to do with your ability to plan, your motivation, your personality. That's the front of the brain. And the adolescent brain, they call this the higher order cognitive functioning, your decision making, and so on. That is the last part of the brain that matures. And during adolescence, there's a period of what is called synaptic pruning, and the people who work in agriculture could help me with the pruning part. So you have all of these connections in your nerve cells, and during adolescence, even into your early 20s, the brain is cutting off or pruning those parts of the connections that are not being used and reinforcing those parts of the connection that you're using, right, or that it needs. So there's a process where the brain kind of refines the neural connection, the connections between the nerve cells. And this is going on during adolescence. No, and that's a dynamic process, right? So this area, that same prefrontal cortex, undergoes a massive structural change during the adolescent process, and this is the last part of the brain that matures. Okay? So having said that, what does that then mean for early drug use? What does it mean that if during this very dynamic process where the brain is trying to figure out itself, trying to get itself organized, what does it mean if now we add a psychoactive substance to this process? So it has been shown that there is a negative impact on these executive functioning of the brain when you add cannabis during that adolescent period. So cannabis use is associated with higher rates of delinquency, lower academic achievement, and an increased risk of psychotic disorders, especially in young people who are already vulnerable. So what I would say to young people, I say, because nobody could defend weed like young people. When they come to you and not going to stop smoking, nobody could defend. I say 100 men would sit and smoke weed, 9 would get sick. How do you know if you're going to be the 9? Is there a way to tell if you're going to be out the one of the 9? And is that a risk that you're willing to take?
Telecommunications provider Digital SPG has answered a call made by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for businesses to get on board to assist with the efforts to clean up and enhance capital Kingstown. The appeal for corporate entities to get on board and support this initiative was made by Minister of Transport, Works and Local Government Senator Julian Francis at a town hall meeting held with representatives of the businesses sector at the Methodist Church Hall in Kingstown prior to this year's carnival. Digital SVG's country manager John Gidhari handed over a check of $50,000 to Minister of Transport, Works and Local Government Senator Julian Francis at a ceremony at the Ministry of Telecommunications conference room. The annual summer program for children in the West St. George community began on August 8th at the Doris Mackey Learning Resource Center. The program is being spearheaded by Minister of Tourism and Culture, Parliamentary Representative for the area, Honorable Cecil Mackey. The minister says over the next 2 weeks, the participants will be involved in educational sessions, as well as craft and sports sessions. Mr. Mackey says the participants will also be taken on 2 field trips, one to an agricultural cultivation and another to the Argyle International Airport. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has denied reports being circulated on social media that his government took a decision to postpone the last sitting of Parliament due to pressure from 3 international organizations that expressed concerns about the cybercrime bill.
The bill has been on the books since before Cato came to office. It's a useful provision to have, and as I outlined in the letter to Reporters Without Borders, is that you have civil defamation. Somebody injure your reputation with whether by words or by writing, and you take them to court,
right,
and sue them for damages, for money damages.
Right.
But there are persons, men and women of straw, who will simply go out and maliciously defame you, and then nothing.
So far, 3 international organizations have written to PM Gonsalves expressing concerns, one of which RSF said are extremely damaging to the free flow of news and information and to public debate. However, Dr. Gonsalves said that he is not pressured to make any change to the bill.
When I hear this nonsense about international organizations give pressure and so on, anybody could read my letter, which I answered the Reporters Without Borders. I sound like a man under pressure. This bill is really to address a number of things relating to quote-unquote cyberspace, yes, and the use what we have. You just can't say and do anything in that medium,
right,
without regulation, dealing with people's reputations, to child pornography. Right. In fact, the Reporters Without Borders, you notice that they themselves said that they see the need for legislation like this thing, like what we have put forward.
Leader of the DRP and member of the Select Committee for SPG Cybercrime Bill, Anicia Batiste, says that the revised bill still damages freedom of expression. In a release, Mrs. Batiste said that according to the publication of the Searchlight newspaper yesterday, August 9, 2016, with amendments to the Cybercrime Bill 2016, we see that there are still problems of anti-freedom of expression clauses in the bill. More local news when we come back.